stickers and how to make stickers for pretty much anything. I'm going to show you how to, in my tutorial, how to actually make them for water bottles, but you can make stickers to put on, notebooks or presents or little boxes, really anything. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways on how to make them in Cricut Design Space, and also where to find some that you can download and use in Cricut Design Space. This is actually Cricut Design Space still online, but I'm also going to be using the one that's offline too. I'm just going to show you how to make a few if you have Cricut Access. So I'm going to go into images. Okay, we'll put dog and line. See if that comes up. Okay. So this is the one that I want to use. So I'm going to click on this one and click insert the image. And you see when it comes up, if I were to print this out, it's going to cut in between all of these. So what I want to do is add a square to the back side of it. So I'm going to click on shapes and then click square. And I want my background to be white. So I'm going to click on the white. And then I'm going to size this so it fits behind it. So I'm actually going to hit the arrange and send to back so it's in back of it. And then since it's not a perfect square, I'm going to click the unlock button here so I can actually make it longer and kind of center it how I want. And now just so I get it totally in the center, I'm going to use my cursor and put both of these in a box so they're both selected. I'm going to come up to align and I'm going to align center center. So that just makes it in the center of that. Okay, so you can see when they're both selected and come over to my layers panel here, you can see that they're all separate cut and prints over here. And we don't want that. So what we're going to do, this is where the flatten comes in. So I'm going to come down here on the right side and click flatten. And now you will see it is all one cut and print. So it's going to print this out and cut around the white box there. So now this one is ready to go. Make it smaller. Okay, so let's try a few more in Design Space here. So if I go to images, I'm going to do Disney. I have some Disney cartridges in here already, but you can also purchase them separately. So I'm going to filter and go to my images because I had cartridges long ago when I had a Cricut Expression. So I'm just going to go to one I want. Say you want this guy, this Mickey Mouse here. I'm going to insert him. So we can keep him like this. And right now you see when I bring him in, he's all cut. So this would be cut out. But if you want to actually print him, we're going to have to flatten him. So this one already has kind of a border, but say you wanted a bigger border around it, you can unlock this layer over here you see is hidden right now. If you unlock it, you'll see there's a gray, another layer that comes up gray. And I'm going to change this to white. So that actually gives it a little bit of an edge when you cut it out. So now I'm going to use my cursor and select all of these and go into flatten again. So I'm going to flatten them and you'll see that he changes a little bit and now I have one layer over here of cut and print. It's really hard to see the white layer around it because of the canvas, but there's a slight little white layer behind him. So if there is a shadow layer to use with any of your images and you want a little extra border, that's how you do that. Okay, so there's also, like I showed you already, printable ones like this one. Let's see if I can find this one again. This one's really cute. So if you go, I'm going to go to bike and I'm going to filter, like here I click printables. So these ones are already coming up that they are printables. And so this one, you can get this one, you just have to pay for it. So like I showed you, this is the one I want. So I'm going to click on it and insert it. And this one's all ready to go. You can see it's already a cut and print. It's already flattened. I don't need to do anything to this. So that's going to print like that and it's going to cut around it. Okay, so that's one that's, if you find that's already a printable. So let's talk about uploading if you want to use a picture. So I'm going to click upload, and I'm going to go to upload an image and then browse. And then wherever on your computer you have your picture, mine is in my downloads. So I'm going to come down and click on this one. And so this, I'm going to leave it as complex. I'm going to click continue. You'll see it comes in huge. I'm just going to continue. So I'm not going to do anything to it. And now over on the left, it says save as a print, then cut. So I'm going to save this one, click on it and insert it. And it comes in really big. So I'm just going to come up here and make this 3 inches, and that will make it smaller. So say with this one, I could have cropped it, but I didn't, and it has this extra here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to click a square in here, move it where I want it cut, and then I'm going to use my cursor, go around both of them, and down here click the slice. So now this cuts everything off of there. So I'm going to just delete all of these. So now I have it cropped, but you could have done that in the earlier section, but I use different shapes for a lot of slicing in here. So again, if you want a little, this will just cut out around it. But again, if you want a little border around it, you can add a square in whatever color you want it. You can put it white and unlock it so I can kind of size it. And then I'm going to send it to the back so I can see here. And just get it about how kind of thick you want. And then I'm going to, again, select both of them with my cursor and go to align and center, center. So, and then again on this one, so it all cuts out together, I'm going to come down and flatten it. So now it has that white border around it. So when I did the same thing with this one. This one was a PNG and I uploaded it and just added a circle on the back side of it so that it cuts out on there. Okay, so now let's talk about uploading like drawings and things that you or your kids have done. So these are a few stickers I'm making of some of the drawings my daughter has done. So what I do is I take a picture of it with my smartphone. I have her draw on a white piece of paper, and then I take a picture with my smartphone, and my smartphone automatically saves into my Google Photos. So then I can access it on my computer easily. If you don't, you can always email it to yourself or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to download this one on my computer. Okay, and then I'm going to go into Cricut Design Space, and this is the offline one. And I'm going to go to the upload button, and you'll see I have uploaded these, and I'll show you a little bit difference on how those were. But I'm going to click upload, click browse, and go into my downloads, and this should be right here. So I'm going to click on that one, and I'm going to leave it as complex so I can get all of those fine details of her colors. So it comes in huge. So I'm going to zoom out, and then I'm actually going to use the cropping tool here first to crop it to get this part off and this part. And I can't get it to go any smaller. Put my cursor as high up as I can, just using my mouse here and pulling it down. And letting it go so it crops this part out. So then I'm going to reduce it again. And this one, you'll notice I went back in and actually used a Sharpie to go around the edges, and I will show you why I did that after we print them out. So then to clean up the back of it, I'm going to use my select and erase tool, this wand here. And then I'm just going to use my cursor and my mouse, and I'm just going to click on the part that I want to disappear. So that would be the background. And hopefully it all pretty much disappeared. So I don't have to erase anything, but I'm going to use the preview button just to see if there was anything out there. So there are some bits and pieces in here that I'm just going to get the erase tool and just kind of drag it through. So I'm holding my left mouse key button down. I'm going to make this bigger as I kind of go around here, just so it erases anything that might be there. Because unfortunately, any little pieces that are there, your Cricut will cut out. So it just makes it take a lot longer. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep holding my mouse down, my left key, and just try to erase what I can here. Okay, so then I'm gonna click continue, and I'm gonna save it here as a print and cut, and then click save. And you'll see I didn't get quite all of it over there. So I'm going to click on it and insert. Sometimes these take a long time, and you'll see it came in really big. So I'm just going to come up here and change this to 4, just so it makes it smaller and I can see it. I'm going to rotate it. So she likes to color with colored pencils, so it makes it much lighter. If your child colors with markers, a lot of times the edges will be smoother. That's why I went back in with a Sharpie, because when it cuts these ones, the Cricut takes a long time and cuts all the little edges there. So these ones I actually added a backing to it because I knew these would take a really long time to cut out all those little fine details. And this one you'll see when I cleaned all of these up the same way. So this one came in, she did in pencil. Again, I'm going to make this smaller so we can see it. So if this edge, you can even see it a little bit here. It has a little bit, pops back up, but it has a little bit of that gray there. And the Cricut was going in and cutting all of those little pieces. So it was taking a really long time. So what I ended up doing was adding, like we did before, is adding a square behind it. And this one was easy because it's already a square. So I'm going to make this one white and make it bigger. I'm going to send it to back so we can see it. And this one being temperamental. Okay, I'm just going to use my cursor to put a square around these, and I'm just going to align these center. So now when this cuts out, it will cut out with a little bit of a white border there, which is fine because it will be an easy cut. So all I need to do is select both of these, put my cursor and put both of those, and come down into the flatten section and click the flatten button. So now you'll see that it all, again, went to one layer, and that's going to be a print and cut. So I did try to cut Piglet out before, and it was a lot of jagged lines, which took a really long time to cut. And then also it makes the edges not look so pretty. So so this is a great way to make little stickers, like for party favors. If you want to put them on little bags or boxes or things that you're going to give out to people, or if your child just wants a bunch of stickers. So like I said, have them draw it on a white piece of plain paper. I will show you, my daughter was doing, these are actually from her journals. So if they draw them on something that doesn't have a plain background, she was drawing in her journal. She draws these super cute things, but the journal paper has white dots all over it. So I did clean this up as much as I can. I'm just going to show you real quick just how to start cleaning something like this up. I'm going to go into complex and continue. And again, it brings it up huge. So I'm going to minus it. And then at first, I'm going to use my wand tool to select and erase and just start clicking around all the parts that I want it to get rid of. So you'll see how much more work this is going to be when it's not a real clean image. And then all these little parts right here, I took my eraser, I made it as big as I could, and then I just went back and forth and started deleting all of those dots. And you'll see how when I run it by, the dots delete. This took a while to clean up. And then once I got the main stuff cleaned up, whoops, and that happens sometimes. So I just hit the undo button there, because sometimes it will lag and not do it. So once I got kind of the main stuff cleaned up, then I went and made my eraser smaller, and then kind of just went around like the hair to get rid of that and stuff. So this took a long time, so I don't want to show you all of that, but that's basically what I did. I just changed the wand types and went through this. So this is why I don't recommend trying to do pictures that have a big messy background on them. White paper is the best. But you'll see that I got it to, so I got it to this, so you can still see there's a bunch of stuff around it. So if I just insert this one, and again, I'm going to change it, the size, so we can see it here, and rotate it. And it's hard to see when it's on here, the extra little pieces, but this one would take a super long time to cut out. And it probably would come in here and try to cut in there because it's white. So if you're wanting to do more complex images and things like this, that's why I just added a circle behind it just to make it a round sticker. So I just went in and got a shape, circle, turned it white, and moved it to back under arrange, send to back. And then you can either make that bigger or this smaller. Say move that in there. So something like that. And then I would use my cursor to put them both on a box, and again, come down to the flatten. So now it will just cut around the edge and print there. Okay, so that's how you do it if you want to upload some drawings and things like that to use. And you can print these out as stickers. You can print them out on printable iron-on and add them to shirts or things like that. Anything you want. So let's say you want to find some images on Google, like a Fortnite one or something like that. You have to be real careful, and I've talked about this before, to watch out for things that are copyrighted. So most of them, a lot of things you can find, they'll say free for personal use, but when it comes to selling things like that, it's very hard to use any of these ones that you find on Google. There's a couple of sites like Pixabay I've talked to and different things like that that have some commercial use ones. So this is the Pixabay one I'm talking about. You can come in and type in something, and these ones, if you click on it, it will say free for commercial use and no attribution required. So you could use this for commercial use. So say you want to do that and you're going to download it. So this one we're going to download, as a PNG. So I'm going to click that. So the PNG is when you don't have a background on it. So when we go back into Design Space and upload this and click Browse, and mine just goes to the beginning of my downloads and I upload it, you see it won't have a background. So I'm going to keep it as complex. And again, the background's already erased, so I don't need to do anything about it. So I can click on this and that will save as a printable image. Okay, so I was showing you some of, if you want to get a few other ones, I mean, Pixabay, like I said, it has commercial use ones, so it's great, but it doesn't have a lot. So I'm going to come into Google and I typed sea turtle watercolor. And I'm actually going to type PNG just because it usually will bring up ones that are free sometimes. So on here, obviously you have to be careful. You don't want to go into one that's an Etsy or anything like that that you have to pay for and try to steal that. Obviously you can go in and buy any of the ones that are on Etsy, but some of these will be for free. So let's say I'm going to click on this one, and this one's called Kind PNG, and I'm just going to click on it again, and it brings me to this website. So this one has free download, image license for personal use only. Okay, so I am going to download this. Okay, so this one downloads. Okay, but in this one, you can actually come down and you can see all the different ones they have, and they actually have a popular category. So this is where I found that Fortnite one. So it said Fortnite down here. I'm going to click on it, and it has all of these ones. I don't know anything about Fortnite, but say you want to, one of your kids or something wants to use one of these. So I'm just going to click on it, and it does have ads that come up, and that's just how they make their money. So we'll leave that and click the download. And download this. Okay, so then that is downloaded now on my computer. So now when I go into Design Space, so this is the offline one again. I'm in Uploads already, but I'm going to click the Upload an Image, and again, Browse. So this is just browsing my computer, and mine is set to automatically come up with my downloads, and mine goes by dates. So it's just easier so I can see exactly what I just downloaded. So I'm going to click on this one to open. And again, I'm going to use complex. If you hit something else separately, it's not going to print. Like the simple one, it doesn't show all the details. So click on complex, click continue. We don't need to do anything because the background is gone, and save as a print image. Okay, I'm going to do one more with the turtle. So I'm going to upload, browse, and open this one. And you'll see that it has that blue around it, which is really cool. And the rest of it, background, anytime it's checkered, that is going to be clear or transparent. So I'm going to click continue, and save it as the print and cut. So I'm going to save this. Okay, so then I'm going to insert this one, and you'll see it's already a cut and print there. One drawback of Design Space right now is that it doesn't have the shadow layer for things that you upload. Say if I just duplicated this and made it put no fill, and it turns to that background that we saw before. The problem is we can't if I make this bigger, it doesn't scale to the same size as an outline. So if I send this one to the front, I mean, it won't be perfect, but you could do, if you want a little of a background on it, you can do something like that. And then again, flatten these together. So now you have that background there. Okay, let's see if we did it with, I tried to do it with the Fortnite one and it didn't work as well. So let's see if we bring her in. It really depends on how many, like a circle itself sometimes can size proportionately for a shadow layer, but this one, oops, again, say we duplicate this, and then I'm coming up to where it says print here, and I'm just going to no fill. So that makes it actually a cut image. And then I'm going to turn it white. So we're going to send this to the front. And so right now it's exactly the same size. So say I just make it slightly bigger. You're going to see, so see how it makes it bigger on this side, but not on this side. So that's where it gets kind of tricky. And even if I unlock it, you can kind of move it over a little bit. So you can get a little bit of a shadow layer. And there are ways to get shadow layers, and I have a video on that, and I will link it below. So you can get a little bit of an offset if you want. So that gives you a little bit of one. And then I'd select both of them and flatten it. So it's hard to see, so let me put a background in here just so you can see what it, arrange, send it back. So you can see that there's a little bit of white around. It's a little bit offset. So it just depends on how you want your sticker, if you want white around it or if you want it just straight how it is. I am going to use these ones. These were just other ones that I had done before. This is another printable one in Design Space. So when I come over to my layers, I want to make sure that it's all one thing cut and print. If there's two things, then that's when it starts getting in and actually cutting out every little detail inside of it. So you want to make sure it's just on one line and it says cut and print. So now I'm just going to size these to about how big I want them on a water bottle. Some of them smaller, some of them bigger. And I'm just estimating here. I don't really know. You can measure them on your water bottle to see how big. I'm probably not going to put Mickey on there. Okay, so say I want to do these. I'm going to come up and save this. I already had it as stickers. So now when you go to print them, they will put as many on a piece of paper as can, but we'll see if they fit in. Oh, they actually fit on one. So like I said, you can only cut up to, but so right now it is going to print all of these and then cut out. So if I click continue, okay, so, and it's gonna send it to your printer first. So I'm gonna click send to printer, and you'll notice it says add bleed. And what a bleed is it just gives it a little extra outline on it. So when it actually cuts it, it doesn't cut into your sticker. So leave the bleed on, and it will cut around. And you'll see when you, and I'll show you when you print them out, you'll have a little extra kind of a blur on the side of it, but that will be cut out by the Cricut when it does it. So I'm going to print it to my color printer, and I am using printable vinyl. So then I'm going to click print, and then this is going to print in my printer. And then so once it's printed on my printer, I'm going to come in and set my material. So I just go to browse all materials, and I'm going to go down to vinyl, and you'll see on the vinyl, printable vinyl on here. So I'm just going to click on this and then click done. So this is on the maker. If you have a Cricut Explore Air, you can always turn the wheel to a custom setting and you will get a drop-down menu like this, and then just select printable vinyl there. So I'm gonna put it on my mat and load it in. Okay, so I did want to show you what happened when I used printable vinyl for these stickers, and this one I did in a spray, and this one I put Mod Podge over it, and this one I didn't do anything. So I was actually very surprised when I got this wet just off of printable vinyl that it didn't run, because I'm using an inkjet printer. So it actually did really good. It did chip on a couple little places, but for the most part this actually came out great. But you can see when I use sticker paper, if I didn't do anything, it actually didn't even come off. It just pretty much disintegrated, so I couldn't put it on here. But this one was with a Mod Podge. I put it all over it, and you can see it still, when it got wet a bunch of times, it's not working well. And this one is a spray, working better, but still not great. So definitely, if you're gonna put it on something that's gonna get wet, I highly recommend a printable vinyl. And this is much thinner and much easier to actually go through printers. So I just used it on a basic inkjet printer, and then I put a sealant over it. Like I said, this is Mod Podge, which is what I'm gonna do. But I just wanted to show you how those came out on here. Okay, so this was the one that just printed from my computer that I showed you. So you'll notice that it has a black rectangle, and these are the lines that the Cricut reads, so it knows exactly where to cut. So you won't see, because obviously white doesn't print on a printer, you won't see the white outlines on here, but the Cricut will know where to cut that. So it's going to cut everything in this section here. So I'm going to put it up in the left-hand corner of my Cricut mat. Okay, and once I set my settings to printable vinyl on my maker, but you can use an Explore Air too. And once it is blinking, I'm going to insert the mat under the rollers, click the load button, and then my cut button will start blinking when it's ready. So I'm just going to click that. And you'll see how it's going slow right now, and there's a light on down here, and that's because it is reading those lines. So it knows exactly where the images are, and it knows where to cut. So just let it do its thing, and once it's read everything and it knows where it's at, then it will go and start cutting them out. So everything's done cutting and my light is flashing. So I'm going to unload my mat. So you'll notice this one actually had a really funky edge on it. So it didn't cut, got a little messed up on the sides there. But you can see where it cut. It had that bleed on it, so it did cut into it, but all of these are cut out. So what I'm going to do before I take them off of the vinyl is I'm actually going to add some Mod Podge over them. And like I showed you on here, without adding the Mod Podge actually worked really well. This has been washed 4 times, but it did scratch a little bit. So I'm just gonna be on the safe side. So I'm gonna add, this is the one I have is dishwasher safe, but I'm actually not gonna put them in the dishwasher because you shouldn't be putting stainless steel these in dishwashers anyway. So I'm just gonna leave it on the paper. And I'm just going to use a flat brush so that it goes on nice and even. And I'm just going to lightly go over it so it goes over the edges. Okay, so I'm going to actually let these dry for a good amount of time so they're totally dry to the touch. And then I will put them on the water bottle. Okay, so I just wanted to show you the differences of how it cuts. So this is the one that I had the bleed on and I just let it cut when it didn't have this outline on it. So you can see that, I mean, the Cricut cuts all of that, so it makes it really jaggedy on the edges. So it still works, except it did not like the face right there because it was white. So it still works. It just takes a lot longer to cut and you get a little bit of, you know, the jaggedy around there. This one should have been colored in and it would have worked better. So this one, I actually didn't turn the bleed on since it had such a thick outline already. And this is the one that I went around that picture with a Sharpie just to give it that extra edge. And this one took a lot less time to cut. And you see it comes off a lot easier because it has that thick line on the edge. It doesn't even need to be that thick, but so things like this, if you're making stickers, probably markers and things with a thick outline are going to cut off and do the best on that one. So this one I showed you like the Piglet. Piglet was very jaggedy on the edges and it didn't take both feet with it. So you can see how jaggedy. So this one I would go back in and just outline the whole thing with just a skinny marker, probably just to give it some edge on it, and then it would cut off easier. But you can see here is where it still printed all those little pieces that I couldn't get off, those little dots. So it still printed those, and Cricut would still come in and cut all of these. So this would take a really long time to cut. That's why I ended up putting it on a white background. So you can see how pretty that prints and then just cuts out in a circle. And this one I have Mod Podge over. Okay, so those are using some different drawings and things to make stickers. Okay, so now these are dry. I let them actually dry overnight. Mod Podge actually does recommend 24 hours to let them dry. So now I'm just going to apply them to my tumbler. So I like to use just some alcohol and clean it off. Just kind of gets, if there's any residue or any grime or anything on it, helps the vinyl adhere better. And then I'm just going to pull these out. So you see how they cut out there. And then you can just start applying them anywhere. And it is a little harder to peel off just because that Mod Podge is on top of it. So I'm going to do that one really carefully. So if you didn't apply Mod Podge, these would obviously peel right off. They're just a little stickier because of that. See how cool that came out? So pretty. Okay, let's work on this one. I'm actually going to cut it. Okay, so there I go. Have them all on my water bottle, and I can even, I'm going to print a few more of my daughter's drawings and put those on. And I'm going to move this one. So these still can move. Put that there, and then take this one off and put this one up here. Move him down a little bit too. Okay, so there is my water bottle. So I am going to actually let these sit on here for a couple days before I get it wet, just so they stick on well, and before I wash them. But you can see like this that I showed you before, these are the vinyl. And like I said, they do peel off. You can get them off. It's obviously a lot tougher to peel these off now that these have been on here for quite a few days. But they don't move at all when you gently clean everything. And I used even a light scrub brush when I cleaned it, but it didn't remove the edges at all on the printable vinyl, just on the sticker one. So these, even though they're removable, and they don't leave a residue on them, they stay for a good amount of time. So I will let you know when they start falling off.